Oh my gosh. Hello everyone, what's going on? This is Ryan Sierra. You're back for another Commander Deck profile. This is going to be a 7-episode series where I review 7 of my decks, and I just kind of go through them and see what they're all about. So we have right now Elf Ball. It's often called Elf Ball. This is of course mono green Marwyn. Figured we would hit it up another mono. I did a mono black. Here's a mono green. This is mysteriously less competitive than Gisa. I mean, kind of makes sense, right? I don't necessarily have anything too crazy in here going on at all. So the way this works is it's basically just like elf value. It's a lot of fun because it gets really big really fast, and when people are trying to maybe play more planeswalkers, or they're trying to build up and they really pop off in mid. This of course builds a board early and becomes a threat. The more trample that you have, right? The more trample effects that you have, with the more elves that you have out on the field that are getting buffed like mad. So let's go through it here. Armorcraft Judge is going to be good because when he ETBs, you basically draw a card for creatures you control with counters on them, and that's basically going to be like a cantrip at least. Which, I mean, there's tons of cantrips in Magic, and this card then becomes a creature that also buffs Marwyn, so it's whatever. It's not perfect, it's just fun. Beast Whisperer, he's pretty strong. He's a strong dude, and I love the fact that I have a real version of him, because I mean he's crazy. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So not even on ETB, but when you cast, you get to draw that card. So that's a lot of fun. And then he's an elf. Boreal Druid, he taps for a colorless. Which in mono is fine, right? Like if I needed more colors, obviously I wouldn't think about putting him in here, but we're mono, which is obviously always going to secretly be 2 colors, colorless and green. Canopy Tactician is fun for a good buff, and oh my god, she's a mana dork. Circle of Dreams Druid is just a powerful mana dork. This guy's fun because he effectively becomes 1 green tap, draw card. Because it says his ability costs 1 less, 1 colorless or generic less to activate for each 1/1 counter on creatures you control. So basically, he's playing off of not even, unlike Armorcraft Judge, which has to do with the creatures that have counters. He's doing on the counters at all. So you get Marwyn to have a lot of counters. He basically just reads green tap, draw a card. Devoted Druid, he's just a fun mana dork. I don't really do a lot of the put a -1/-1 counter on him. Dwyn and Goatleaf Dane is super strong, and I just realized she's a legendary creature and also a chick, and so I'm like, I wonder if anyone's ever played Dwyn as a commander before. Not me. I'm built different. But she's a fun buff. And then I've never actually messed with the second effect before, but it is a lot of fun, because it's whenever she attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. So, I mean, that's a lot of life, because I have a lot of elves. Elvish Archdruid, other creatures get 1/1, and I gain a green for each elf I control. So, or, for tapping it as a fun mana dork. So, Elvish Archdruid is basically kind of like a Priest of Titania or Circle of Dreams Druid. Although Circle of Dreams Druid in this case is specifically for each creature you control, but good stuff. Synergizes anyway, because whatever, elves are obviously creatures. Elvish Clan Caller is another one where we're going to buff up our elves, and I really seldom use that bottom effect. The only time because it doesn't make sense, right? Search your library for a card named Elvish Clan Caller. I mean, I can't do that, because in Commander you can only have 1 of each, card, unless it's like basic lands. So I think what this is a way to like shuffle my deck, maybe. If I have like a crap ton of mana, which, spoiler alert, I get up to having a lot of mana in a deck like this, then I'll go but I keep maybe drawing into lands, then I'll probably be like, oh, word, let me shuffle my deck around, right? It's a dumb idea, but it might help. Elvish Mystic, obviously can't go wrong. It's a mana dork, 1, tap for green. These days people are playing what's called, what is it called? There's a term. It's called like kill the sheep or something. I don't know. And it's basically like the minute you see a mana dork out, you like kill it, because it actually helps people a lot. So, geez, got to give that Divine Shield counter to Elvish Mystic there. Well, that came out in a new Capenna. Elvish Pioneer comes into place. Put a basic land from hand out, tap. That is a lot of fun. I mean, that effectively, cantrips a land or something. It's great. I mean, I don't think cantrip's the right word, but yeah. More lands the better. I really don't use this guy's effect. Let's see. Gets 2/2 as long as there are 3 more lands in your graveyard. 2 tap, sacrifice a land, deliver for a land card. He's more for landfall. He's going to be for landfall. I just have him in this deck, which is not. Oh, where was I? I don't have him in this deck because he's more of a landfall. Or no, sorry. What? Hello, English. I do have him in this deck, but only because he's just an elf to mess around with. Good lord, I'm almost at 50 creatures, but each creature is doing something sort of. And at the very least, if they're not doing something themselves, I mean, they're always pumping into Marwyn, right? We got an Elvish Visionary, draw a card. Elvish Warmaster basically reads whenever one or more elves enters the battlefield, which that effectively means it can only happen once per your turn. Create this token, and that means that good juice for Marwyn, right? Everything's all about pumping into Marwyn, because obviously Commander, the big thing is you build around your commander. So Essence Warden, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, gain 1 life. That's good stuff. Azuri is basically the Elven. Oh god, not Protean Hulk, the other one. The Stampeding one. He's basically like the Elven version of that. And it's funny because he actually costs 8 to do that, if you notice. He's a 3-drop that has 5 elf creatures you control, get 3 control on turn. Let's see. Farhaven Elf, you're getting that land drop. It's good to get the lands out of the deck, to get them on the field, to get them to be able to, draw into more elves. Farhaven Elves, basically, Elvish Mystic by another name, is just a sweet, generous patron. So this one's kind of fun, because whenever you put one or more counters on a creature you don't control, you get to draw a card. But I mostly put, her first counter on Marwyn, and then something, because then Marwyn, in theory, gets 2 counters off of this. 1 for generous patron entering, and 1 for its counter effect. And then I give the second one to an opponent and draw a card. Good stuff. Gear per guide. It's so funny because people get up to some tricky stuff, and Gear per actually helps out in combat, but I really seldom see myself using it. Glittermonger. You kind of don't need that in this deck with all the mana that we make off elves, but treasure tokens, have a blast. Heritage Druid, believe it or not, can come in handy. You tap those 3 untapped elves you control. You add 3 green to your mana pool. I mean, that is fun because she counts herself. So if you have her and 2 other elves, and obviously I'm pretty sure it can get past Summoning Sickness because it's like an effect ordeal. So Immaculate Magistrate is way too powerful. Put 1/1 counter on target creature for each elf you control in Elf Ball. I mean, that's insane. Because, up to this point, we've already gone through 20-ish elves or something like that. Assuming that, we've been summoning these elves each time, right? In a sort of, on-curve kind of way, plus the ramp. Marwyn gets 20 counters. So that's evil stuff right there. Imperious Perfect, elves getting 1/1, and green tap, created 1/1 elf warrior creature token, so she's just going to town. This one is interesting because target creature gets 2 until end of turn, or you gain 3 life. I normally use the 2/2 until end of turn. It gives Marwyn more juice, which means it gives her more mana. Jagged Scar Archers is definitely a fun one. Here's the deal. This can screw with the dragon decks, right? Like Ore Dragon and the one that puts them all into your hand, because it can tap, deal damage equal to its power to target creature with flying, and Jagged Scar Archers and toughness power and toughness are equal to the number of elves you control. So this thing is just getting bloody, and you need to be able to hit some dragons. You need to be able to take out some dragons, because people love playing either Ore Dragon itself, or they'll play this other accompanying support that puts 5 different dragons into their hand. Let's see. Jiraga Tree Speaker. Heck yes. This one basically becomes, elves you control become mana dorks, which is thank you. Good mana dork, right? Mana dork draw. Heck yeah. Making tokens. Buff, putting counters on creatures. Hello. Ooh, proliferate. Yes, please. Yes, please. Be another, was it Elvish Archdruid? Yeah. This is the non-budget version of Elvish Archdruid. Kyrian Ranger is a lot of fun because you can untap creatures. So heck yeah. Regal Force is good for that sweet, sweet draw. Rishkar Pima Renegade. He's a lot of fun because what happens is you can put 1/1 counters on each of the 2 target creatures, um, or you can put a 1/1 counter on each of the 2 target creatures. So the whole thing is, I often unfortunately put him onto Marwyn, one onto Marwyn and then one onto another, much like the one from before that we went over. But of course the problem with that is his second, that kind of null and voids his second effect, which is that each elf you control with a counter on it has tap for green. So it's like, well, yeah. You wouldn't want to do that because Marwyn, or you wouldn't want to do that on Marwyn because Marwyn already taps for green. Seeker of Skybreak is a lot of fun because she is going to combo with Kyrian Ranger for reasons you might one day see. Springbloom Druid, super fun. Sack a land, get 2 lands out tapped. Basically thins the deck out of lands and has us drawn to more elves. A lot of the stuff that I have in here, like Farhaven Elf and Springbloom Druid, these are elves, so they help Marwyn, but they're also land tutors. But you might think, well, why would you want to do land tutors in a deck that has so many mana dorks? Well, the reason being is to get the lands out, right? Thin them out. As long as you have 6 or more lands. Sylvan Advocate, land creature you can look at too. He's he's definitely in a, he should be in a different deck, but he's an elf, and that's fun. Tajuru Paragon, obviously you play this for the kicker. It does nothing if you don't play for the kicker. I mean, this card is so beyond a dud. I mean, it's cool that it's a 3/2 for 2, but it is still kind of a dud in this deck if you don't play it for its kicker, and you're going to be able to in Elf Ball. Play it for the kicker. Play it for the kicker, Shinji. Cast this spell only if you've casted the green spell this turn. Trample. Obviously, you're going to be easy to do that. In Elf Ball, you're going to have a lot of mana, so you'll play like, here's Farhaven Elf or something, and then bam, here is Talar's Battalion afterwards. It's a 4/3 with Trample for 2. It's fine. Timberwatch Elf. This card, much like the Inspiring Bard card up above, because it's something that only happens until end of turn, but still, it's going to be able to buff Marwyn like double until end of turn, and if you need that mana, then totally run with it. Verdurous Gearhulk is basically like a support card. Obviously, what's this doing in here? Not an elf, but you can distribute 4 1/1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. So I distribute 4 on 1 and buff up Marwyn like mad. Then we got Voice of the Woods. Tapped 5 untapped elves you control, create a 7/7 green elemental creature token with Trample. Again, Trample is invaluable in Elf Ball because the reality is you're going to try to make a bunch of elves, buff them all up, and swing like mad. You need Trample if you're going up against an opponent who is just as strong as you, right? Because the goal is, of course, to take out like that equal, right? Like there's always someone else at the table who's going to be just as strong as you. The goal is to actually tip it over in your favor and say, oh, you're going to block me with a bajillion like mermaid tokens or zombie tokens? I don't think so because they have Trample. Wood Elves, obviously, again, another land search. So let me get over here, and Abundant Harvest is a lot of fun because what happens is, unfortunately, I don't know, I have like 32 lands, but the mana curve's a bit small. So what happens is, choose a land or non-land, reveal cards from the top until you get that card. So if I hit a land vein, which is basically where, there's like 7 lands stacked together in my deck or something from I don't know. Sometimes it just happens no matter how well you shuffle. You can do Abundant Harvest to be all like, screw this, let's get past the land vein. Bounty of Skemfar, obviously going to be tutoring, looking for some elves. Elvish Promenade is the one time where an elf is not a creature, right? Because it is a tribal sorcery. Harmonize, some good green. Overcome is that trample that you're going to want. Overwhelming Stampede, once again, that trample is what you're going to want. Relentless Pursuit, again, it's another way to draw into creatures for more elves. Or lands, God forbid, like I draw like a weird bad land hand. But same with Abundant Harvest up here. Rich Cards Expertise, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. That's going to be a lot of fun when paired with like Timberwatch Elf, make Marwyn a 40/40. If she's already 20/20 or something, or 20/21 with 20 elves on the field, then you double up with Timberwatch Elf, and then you throw down, Rich Cards Expertise, draw like 40 cards. Then, of course, he says, you can cast a spell with CMC 5 or less for free. And that's when you throw down Shamanic Revelation to draw another 20 cards. So, once again, this is a perfect example of draw a bunch of cards, build a pretty board. Then, of course, we have like a couple mana rocks. Don't worry about these infinite combos. That's so silly of me. What are those doing in there? Ha 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 ha. Freyalise, Llanowar's Fury is a lot of fun. I know she can be a commander as a planeswalker. I see her. She's a very, very good support card. I don't really see her being a commander. I mean, prove me wrong. Show me, comment down below a Freyalise deck that isn't Elf Ball, because it seems like it's a lot better for Elf Ball, and then as a support